In chapter 1, we are introduced to several of the key themes of mindfulness and mindful leadership. And that we get introduced to these, and we'll begin and continue to build off these throughout the semester, starting off with leadership excellence and this idea of the 4 components which creates a mindful leader, which are focus, clarity, creativity, and compassion. And the book talks about that, and we'll spend a great deal of time as the semester goes on going in depth to each of those and what each means and how we can cultivate that in our own lives. A key principle of mindfulness is this idea of responding instead of reacting. And the idea behind here is that as we become more mindful, we are able to respond to a crisis, an issue, instead of reacting. And that sounds very simple to do. And in theory, you'd say, okay, yeah, that makes sense. All you do is respond instead of react. But oftentimes, you get caught up in a moment. It's a stressful moment. Your emotions are involved, and we tend to react instead of respond. And we're going to work on that this semester, developing our ability to respond instead of react. I know for me personally, with a couple young kids, I get tested all this time in this area. And I mean, there are times when I react instead of respond. And as soon as it happens, you realize, okay, maybe I shouldn't have gotten mad at my kid for spilling milk. It's really not that big of a deal. But in that split second, you react instead of respond. And having kids is certainly a great way to work on developing that. We also are looking at presence, which again is another key component of mindfulness, and the idea that we are living in the moment and we're trying to eliminate all the distractions that are going on around us and in our mind, which is as we begin to try some of these exercises, you'll see it's a lot more challenging than you think. Just for example, if you just close your eyes right now and try to block everything out, how hard that is to do and how challenging it is. Because we have a million things going on in our mind, let alone with technology and all the distractions that presents, having our phone, having access to all that right there. It makes it really difficult to eliminate those distractions, live in the moment, and be there. And we're going to work on that, and we'll get better at that. I like the example, the Bill Clinton example from the book where he's meeting different potential voters. And his ability, the example given, his ability to be in the present and actually interact with this individual like nothing else in the world matters. And that's what we're hoping to get to with being mindful. And we'll try different techniques to get there. It's not an easy task. There's a reason people continue to do it to this day. But hopefully in this class, not only will we learn more about mindfulness, but we'll also develop our ability to be more mindful and be more present. And the last key point that this chapter talks about, which is something that is a really interesting topic, and a topic when I would teach face-to-face with my more traditional students, I talk about it in every single class, this idea of multitasking, and that the research shows you cannot multitask. People think they can, but you can't. Your brain can really only focus on one thing at a time. And when you think about it, we need to focus on one task, be present. That is all we're about. We're not worried about other things going on. We are just focused on that task. I know for me, I like to, when I'm working at home, I'll have TV on in the background, and either I can watch TV or I can work. You can't do both. And oftentimes I'll be working and not even realize, an hour went by in a show and I didn't even know what happened. And people think they can multitask. People think they can be on their phone and talking to friends or doing whatever else, and you just cannot do it. And hopefully we learn to realize that we need to be present. We need to be focused on what is going on around us and not trying to do 2 or 3 tasks at a time. And again, I think this is a great introductory chapter to get us thinking about what leadership excellence is all about, how to begin to respond instead of react, living in the present, and focusing on cutting out of that multitasking that we try to do. And it's a good way to begin to think about how we handle these situations and what do we do in these when we're in these positions and begin to identify, okay, wait a second, I wasn't present. My wife was talking to me and I was looking at something on the computer and partially listening to her, or somebody called me on the phone and I was trying to respond to emails and I wasn't truly paying attention to what was going on. And once you begin to be in that present and look at that individual when they're talking to you, it's amazing what you can get out of those conversations. And we all know that. We all pick up on that if you're talking to somebody and they're not, their attention isn't fully on you. And as a leader, it is critical that we are able to do that. And we'll continue to work on that this semester.